The Spanish announce table.
Hey, yo. It is episode 376 of the Spanish announce table. Tom, I was going to ask you, like, what's going on, what's new, and, outside of anything crazy, I think there's a heavy air in the wrestling world, and,
yeah, look, yeah, it's one bad thing led into another bad thing, and it's just been kind of sad. So, I think we're going to cover both topics in the news, but I think the topic of the week was the unfortunate passing of Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
And that, man, it just stinks. It just stinks. And I think the reason why it stinks so much for me is because he went through so much addiction problems and issues just with staying on the straight and narrow, right? And for him to pass away because of complications from a surgery, it just gets under my skin, right? It's like he got through all of this stuff just to have, and again, it's no one's fault as far as like complications from a surgery, right? It wasn't as if, it was a botched surgery or whatever it was. And hey, everyone, don't go to the medical professionals. I'm not saying any of that. It just is like, man, he got through the alcohol, the drugs. I'm not saying any of that. It just is like,
sorry, feedback.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And so it just felt like, man, it just stinks. 63 is not that old.
It's not.
It is in pro wrestling, right? Like that is very old in pro wrestling, especially the life they live.
Yeah, but not for that, right? Like that's the whole weird emotions of it all, is that we could have lost Scott Hall 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're not for DDP and Jake Roberts. It feels right to shout them out. Like, it feels like they gave us Scott Hall for many more years.
And also Scott Hall's commitment to being clean, right? Like, it's one thing to say, hey, I want to help you, but unless
desire
you
to live,
help yourself.
Say, right?
Yeah. So, but of course,
the PTSD of it all too, with what happened with him and stuff. So like, I've lost very close family members to suffering through PTSD and then the subsequent alcoholism, and it was a fall that led to his death. I know it feels wrong, right? It feels like you were robbed of somebody, because it was in the news recently. We didn't discuss it on here because that was, it didn't feel like a big story, like he was going for hip surgery,
right?
And this happens, unfortunately. Like, this is another thing where they say, like, remember to tell the people you love that you love them while they're here, because like Bob Saget passed away from a fall in his 60s, right? Like, we say, like, oh man, you fall, even if you break something, you go to the doctor. Like, our age and below, yeah, right? Like 99% chance nothing's going to go wrong there, right? But
I think also, but I also think 60-year-olds should be going to the doctor too. I'm not saying like Scott Hall should have just stayed in his living room and like just deal with a broken hip, but
no, but I'm just saying, but it can lead to complications, right? Like the whole, like, your body just like, oh, we'll take the anesthesia and we'll put you under and we'll reset everything. Like, yeah, your body's, you know what I mean? Like, you'll lose, like, people die from complications of a fall.
Yeah.
More often than I think Dusty Rhodes comes to mind too,
Right.
And it's sad. And so it really sucks, because like Scott Hall was probably favorite of all time. Of like, he's just coolest guy in the room, right? Like, every mannerism, everything, like, nobody was out cooling Scott Hall.
No.
Anywhere.
Yeah, no, he, and the thing about him is that it never felt forced. It never felt like when he had to like go through the curtain, that's when he turned it on. It felt like the Scott Hall that you saw cutting a promo with the NWO in 1998 was the same Scott Hall you would have probably met in 1986 or 2006 or 2016. It's the same guy at any point in his life, at any kind of function as well, right? Like, you meet him at a meet and greet, or you meet him at a wrestling show. It's the same, just like, that fucking guy is the coolest person here. Now, Kevin Nash also was cool. I'm not trying to say like it was only Scott Hall and no one else, but in the NWO, WCW, the Attitude Era, and I'm lumping in, and I'm not trying to be prisoner of the moment here. This is just honestly how I feel, but you lump in The Rock and Stone Cold and Goldberg and Sting and all, and like Scott Hall is going to be the one that they kind of default to of like, he's fucking
so
cool.
And I think we've talked about this before, not about Scott Hall, but just this idea of coolness, right? So we've got a very subjective term in cool, right? Mm-hmm. Comic book nerds think something is cool that we do not define as cool. However, unilaterally, everybody understands who the cool person in the room is, right? Mm-hmm. And it's usually somebody who has the demeanor and just the whole charisma of a guy like Scott Hall, right? It's the confidence, it's the looks, it's everything. Everything he did just oozed coolness. And, I think, God, 95, 96, I'm 15, 16 years old. He's everything I want to be. West Side Gun said it. Like, I didn't want to be Jordan. I wanted to be Scott Hall. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, I'm doing the moves walking in when I'm trying to be cool. You know what I mean? Like, the stance. So this one really did hurt. I mean, it just felt... I don't think I've felt like this sadness from a wrestler death since maybe Macho Man, from like a nostalgia standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, but this one, Macho Man, because I'm just a little bit younger than you. Macho Man was amazing, and I do have plenty of fond memories of him in the NWO, coming over to WCW, kind of the late run in WWF as well. But like Scott Hall's whole main part of his career, because obviously, he did stuff here in Kansas City at Central States and things like that. But like his whole run from the Razor Ramon character to Scott Hall in WCW, like that was when I was, all my memories are fresh then, right? I can recall, the tag team match with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall where they beat Rey Mysterio and had to make him take off his mask. Like I remember that. And I remember him jumping the rail and saying, "You don't know who I am." And there was a person, I'll never forget it. There's a person with a Chiefs t-shirt, which I still will never understand because they were not in Kansas City, but there was a person with the Chiefs t-shirt and he's wearing a cut off denim shirt. Like, that's the other thing. Who could pull that off? He could still pull that off like today. Like if he wore that 6 months ago, it's like, yeah, it's fucking Scott Hall. Like, of course he wears that. Here's the thing though that I want to say about Scott Hall that I think is underappreciated. And his coolness factor is off the charts, right? Because even like you knew it was him because I sent this to you through text message or something like that. Scott Hall, when he made his ECW debut, came out to Fuji's, and even that was cool. And that wasn't like Paul Heyman says, "Hey, Scott Hall, tonight I want you to come out to the Fuji's." That's Scott Hall saying like, "I know it's fucking cool, and these people are gonna love it," and they fucking did, right?
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say though, that I think is underappreciated about Scott Hall is, I'm not saying he's the best of all time. I'm not trying to make this argument that I'm taking Scott Hall over Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and all that stuff. I'm not saying that.
I call him my favorite, but not the best.
Right. What I will say, though, is as far as versatility, I'm not sure that there's a wrestler better than him. Maybe Shawn Michaels, to The Rock to a certain extent, but like Scott Hall could wrestle Kevin Nash or Diesel at the time, or the Giant, who's Big Show. You know what I mean? He could wrestle those guys and bump like he's, Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero, right? Like he's bumping everywhere.
And he could do that like with the charisma of still being like a top level main event performer, hang with these people and not just be a Dolph Ziggler who can kind of do that. You know what I mean? But still doesn't shine at the same level, right? He wouldn't have to compete with their shine. It was great.
But the thing is so he can bump, like a Dolph Ziggler, right? Bump for bump. And I know Dolph Ziggler's known for the greatest selling of all time, but go back and watch Scott Hall's matches with Goldberg or with Giant or with DDP, even people like that. He could bump like a small guy, but then when he was wrestling the Chris Jerichos, the Eddie Guerreros, the Dean Malenkos, he was the big fucking guy who catches your crossbody, fall away slam. Yeah. And then like, well, this guy's fucking bigger than everyone else. And I just don't think,
he's a big dude.
Right. And I just don't think that people understood like the versatility that he could plug and play where, hey, you need to have a, more of a brawl style match with Sting. He's going to give you that. You need him to eat the fucking pin so they can get to Hulk Hogan. He can do that.
Did it all with a smile too.
Right. But do you need him also to like push down the mid Carter before he can elevate to that main event level? Yep. He can do that too. So he's just so valuable.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we look back and think of him that way because like, the other thing that I think is, he was the Intercontinental Champion, right? And people remember him as the Intercontinental Champion, but I think we think of him as the Intercontinental Champion who was a character guy. But I would challenge anyone who would say that, not to say he wasn't a good character, but go back during that run and he is a workhorse just like the Bret Harts and Mr. Perfects and, fill in the blanks. And that I think was underappreciated about his career.
Oh, yeah. And I think another thing that doesn't get addressed in the level of his influence is, so Hogan credits him with a lot of his look and style at that time. Sting said, he told him, he's like, hey, have you ever seen The Crow? And he's like, no, what are you doing? And then there's that. And just like all of these little things, there's stories from everybody about that, where he's like Forrest Gumping his way through some of the people's biggest moments. And I just, that's another part that makes me sad that because of his addictions and his status with the company at that point, like we never got that. We had NXT and the Performance Center. Like you've said this, where how is somebody who hadn't been to the top going to train these kids how to get to the top? So now we've got Shawn Michaels in there, but I don't think Shawn Michaels is still all with it, when we hear him talk. Man, that we couldn't have got a Scott Hall there for 5-10 years. Think of where some of these guys could be.
You got to see a little bit. I recall, I don't even remember what the show was. Maybe it was Tough Enough, or I don't know what it was. But Scott Hall did do a quick stop into NXT, and it was him and Baron Corbin, and he was walking with Baron Corbin and talking with him, and was like, hey, like me and you kind of built the same. I'm going to tell you that you're a prick. And Baron Corbin's like, yeah, I'm a prick. And he's like, well, then let's work with you being a prick. And then they kind of developed a little bit more of his career. Now, obviously Baron Corbin wasn't what he is today, but I think a little bit of those pieces of advice that Scott Hall gave to Baron Corbin is still probably used today. And so, yeah, his mind for the business, I think,
it sounds like it was his incredible. First love. I rewatched his documentary on the WWE Network, and he said like he grew up watching Dusty Rhodes. He just wanted to be Dusty Rhodes, which how many times have we heard that?
Yeah.
Throughout wrestling folklore.
Yeah.
And I mean, gosh, man, I think you got about as close as you could get, right?
Yeah, he was outstanding. Like you said, the Forrest Gump almost is because, he was one of the main parts.
Came up with the Razor Ramon gimmick, you know what I mean? Or at least like the basis of it.
Yeah, which was, culture appropriation, but everything at that time was, right? A Garbage Man was being culture appropriated.
He also never seemed to do it with malice. It was never.
Yeah. It was me saying, or it was him saying like, this is cool, not I'm just going to rip off that.
I honestly, like at the time, like, you know what I mean? A lot of them would probably tell you that's what they were, trying to be. He had that Ric Flair ability to cross cultural boundaries where everybody I think that's where like this kind of thing is forgiven on Scott Hall because everybody's, but fuck, Scott Hall is the coolest guy in the world. He doesn't mean anything, but right. You know what I mean? Like just everybody unilaterally understands that, and he could have done whatever he wanted.
Yeah, no, there is a small group of pro wrestlers that I think fall in that category where it's like, doesn't matter your background. You think that guy's cool, right? Like Ric Flair was probably the first example. Then you have a Razor Ramon. And now today, kids, and again, we're maybe not the exact demo, but like Jeff Hardy, go to any minority wrestling fan or white wrestling fan, and they're going to tell you like Jeff Hardy's fucking cool, right? Like again,
some people transcend their own cultures and races and nationalities and all that stuff to capture the minds of people worldwide.
Yeah. It's just, he was incredible. And I just think, I have said this on the podcast before, but like just the matches that fill time, right? Like back in college when you're having to write a paper, or if you're still in college and you have to write a paper, putting on a Scott Hall segment, regardless if that's a backstage promo in WWF with Ric Flair or it's the NWO and WCW, like it just feels like comfort food. You know what I mean? It just felt like, yeah, this is what I want to watch at any point in my life.
I watched back that WrestleMania 10 ladder match because I know everybody talks about it, and I mean, like, it still holds up. I think it's also a class in where we talk about, like, I think where we maybe have been misspeaking on why we don't like, say, the newer Young Bucks style that we call it, right, is because I think the true art in the match is that selling, right? It's not about the move. Like, it was when Scott Hall was getting an arm bar and he looked like he was really in pain from this little 130-pound nothing, you know what I mean, yanking on his arm, and they milked that for a few seconds, right? And you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen here? I just think, like, it felt like he was doing things at the height of its, you know what I mean, art form, if you will.
Oh, of course. And, you know, again, this could be an all-night just love fest of what Scott Hall's career was. But again, you also think about how he elevated others. One of his most iconic matches in his entire career is losing to the 1-2-3 Kid at Monday Night Raw, right? Like, that was insane. And
a great program from start to finish. That whole series of matches of putting over the Kid.
Which put him into a babyface, right? He started off as a heel. He loses to 1-2-3 Kid. And again, if you watch that, X-Pac or Sean Waltman, whatever we're calling him, will tell you, like, hey, right here, I didn't know what I was doing. And Scott Hall, like, put me in the right spot to get us to the next spot. And so it's like, you know, that's a part of his iconic career, is getting others over, like a 1-2-3 Kid. And then we talk about, you know, the character work of the Razor Ramon. And then obviously backstage, we haven't even touched on that. The guaranteed money that now people today are still benefiting from. That was him and Kevin Nash. And so,
well, he left first.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, he told Kevin to do it, you know, like, it's, it's so like much influence. So much influence on the wrestling industry.
His fingerprints, I think, are in more spots in pro wrestling than people realize.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said he might be the most, like, widely influential wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you might have said Dusty Rhodes prior to that, but.
Right. But.
I mean, geez. At least for people alive now, right? Like, it's, gosh, man. It's a sad loss. I can't tell you how many times I imitated Scott Hall growing up.
Oh,
or even maybe still
the Razor Walk?
Yeah.
The Razor Walk. Anytime I had to go through anything that was tight was the Razor Walk, right? Like, let's just say there's a barrier. And then there's the corner. You do the Razor Walk, and you think of Razor, right? Like, you don't think of anyone else. Well, he's the coolest fucking guy in the world.
Still nothing cooler than getting hit with the Pepsi or whatever, and not even selling it, and just being like, he's still mid-sentence. The thing hits him, and he's just like, fuck that. Just keeps on going.
There's so many other moments. You know, there was a time, I don't even remember what the show was, but it's a memory etched in my brain. But there was an MTV Spring Break, and it was during the early stages of the NWO, and it was Six, who's, you know, Sean Waltman, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. And even then, like, that's out of their element. They're talking to Bill Bellamy and, you know, all these fucking MTV personalities. And even then, it's Scott Hall's the fucking coolest guy here. You know what I mean? Like, the musicians, I remember Bush, the band Bush, you know, the lead singer, Gavin, whatever his name is, was like, that guy's fucking cool. Like, and he didn't watch wrestling, and he knew that this guy was awesome. Like,
he has a unique blend of being, I think, to get a superstar the likes of Scott Hall, you have to have these attributes that he had that it's hard to find in a single person. They have to be the coolest person in the room, right? That's few and far between. But then they also have to be an athletic specimen, right? Who can take instruction well and willing to put in the workload and the time, you know, to learn this industry, and the desire to want to put people over, and just the love of it from the beginning of it. You know what I mean? That eagerness. And man, throwing darts, if you're catching somebody who manages to catch all those things, gets into wrestling and doesn't get injured or doesn't, you know what I mean, have some other tragic thing happen, that you may not see the likes of a Scott Hall ever again in any of your lifetime, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. Well, let's move on and hit a couple other news stories. I don't think we like either of these, but we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. Biggie suffered a broken neck during a SmackDown match where he was suplexed by Ridge Holland but landed on the top of his head first. Biggie was stretchered away from ringside, and it was later confirmed he indeed has a broken neck. I mean, they did say there, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't as bad a damage as there could have been, right? Like, as far as, like, neck breaks go, like, it's not requiring surgery, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. However, there is a doctor who has been a consultant with WWE, and he does not have the information of seeing these CAT scans and x-rays and things like that. However, from his point of view, with his history of neck injuries and obviously working with the pro wrestling industry, he is alluding to the fact that, hey, it's fantastic that Big E doesn't need surgery. He can walk. He's moving his arms. He's moving his legs and all of that stuff. But as far as his in-ring career, we ain't seeing that again.
It's just weird how, like, I mean, yeah, that doctor is well experienced, right? But like I said, he doesn't have the stuff. But like, man, we can see Madcap Moss take the same fall. Almost like, I mean, you saw his neck compress. He was up and at it. But yet, it's just, you know, angles.
It's the freaky,
and yeah.
Look, it's the weirdest thing, and I don't mean to, you know, make this about myself. I fell on my head, right? I could have easily broke my neck as well. I suffered a bruised spine and a slight tear in between my C something and C.
You were momentarily paralyzed, weren't you?
Yeah, I couldn't move anything. So the neck is the weirdest thing in the world, right? It's not one of those things where it's like, well, if you roll an ankle, you should expect 2 weeks and then you'll be fine. Like, the neck.
There's so many things, so many nerves and bones and
there's
muscles.
so much there.
And I mean, like, a guy like Biggie does have, you know, thick neck, but like we're saying, like, it's just a matter of compression and stuff. Like, your spine take the same blow whether you got muscles all around it or not.
Oh yeah.
Now, and sometimes I've heard that, like, when you don't need surgery is almost more kind of what that doctor's saying, because like we can't ensure that it's going to hold up. If we're surgerying it, you know, when we get a look in there, if we put some rods in here and we go like, all right, man, just don't take any fucking pile drivers, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. But when you don't have that, sometimes that's a little more limiting, even though, like, you know what I mean? Surgery, as we said, surgery can bring complications. So if they can avoid surgery, they would like to.
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's a really horrible situation. However, the most important thing is he is walking, he is moving his arms, he can move his fingers. Like, if again, this would suck, but if his in-ring career is the absolute worst thing that happens in that situation, we're okay. You know what I mean?
Away.
Like,
and I will say this, with Biggie and that kind of injury, like, as much as we shit on WWE for being some shitbag people running that company, they have taken care of people in those moments. Like, Corey Graves still has a job. You know what I mean? Like, Big E's personality, his likability, if he wants to be working there, even if he can't work in the ring, they will provide him something to do.
Oh, his ability outside of the ring, I think, is off the charts as far as opportunities. Look at what he was doing when he was the WWE champion. He was introducing Sean Porter at his boxing match with, I believe, Terrence Crawford. He was doing the introductions for the Iowa football team when they faced, I think, Nebraska or something. Like, and his voiceover work is, he could go do cartoons next week, right? And have a career as a voice actor for the rest of his life. Yeah, the vocal abilities he has, he could always have a job somewhere. And then to your point, WWE, I think, knowing him, how they do, and liking him, how they do as well, will find something, right? He will be the host of a show, or he will be a commentator if he can't wrestle again. Now, again, we could say, look, Edge, they said, wasn't ever coming back. He's at WrestleMania.
Same thing, neck injury.
Right. Bryan Danielson was never coming back.
Yep.
He's in the greatest thing right now in pro wrestling with Jon Moxley. So it's not as if.
Yeah, again, that's one doctor who admitted that, like, I don't have the stuff in front of me, but, like, I would need to see something on there that I'm not expecting to see.
Right, exactly.
That would tell me he's going to do it again.
Yeah, so again, I think.
Now the thing is, each doctor is a little more, there's a variance on whether they're lenient on whether they would advise that or not. So maybe he's a hard ass. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah, but again, I think the thing that we need to take stock in is that tomorrow or 6 months from now, Big E can still walk to his car and drive to the next destination.
Yeah, he doesn't
or whatever
need constant
it is.
support to be alive.
So that's, I think, the most important thing here.
Yeah. Now, what do you like watching the move? Is that a Rich Holland issue and they need to do something about that?
Look, no, I think it's one of those honest things. And again, not to make this about myself, but like there's always a probability of something bad happening.
Wrong place, wrong time.
And yeah, when you do the move, whatever it is, 10,000 times, and let's just say the probability is 7 of these 1,000 moves, this is going to happen. Well, that was one of the 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, you have kind of two things, right? Like, so even if Rich Holland, like you said, 10,000 times he suplex somebody, you know, if there's a 99.99% chance, well, that 0.1% chance that he's a little under rotated or whatever. And then you take all the probabilities of like, well, okay, but he could have landed on a shoulder or a neck or a head, but like this one aligned up. And sometimes you have these just, you know what I mean? Like, worse odds of getting hit by lightning or something, but like it happens and shit happens sometimes. And that's really like,
I think there's a difference, and I don't mean to throw this wrestler under the bus, but it's the example that comes to mind. I think there's a difference when Rich Holland has a belly to belly and throws Big E as he did, and Brie Bella kind of closing her eyes and doing her little kicks and ends up knocking out Liv Morgan, right? Those two things are different.
Yeah, one is like the guy's trying to lift a massive human being.
And again, the probability of I've done this 1,000 times, this happens to be the one time that it screwed up, where Brie Bella is looking in the crowd or has her eyes closed and just throwing kicks. It's like, well, you're just doing that unsafe. Like that's not how you do this, right? So there's, I think, the difference where you can, and that's not a diss on Brie Bella. It was just the example.
Oh, sure.
But like, you can, well, yeah, but like you can point to, hey, you did this incorrectly. And then, hey, this is a physical,
it's one thing to say to Rich Holland, you could have got a wider base and got underneath yourself. And it's like, okay, you go pick up Big E and show me. Right?
Well, and also after 9 to 10 minutes of a wrestling match too, right? Like I'm exhausted and all these other things as well.
And he's sweaty, right? Yeah.
So,
all right, before we hit the final news story, which we're really not going to like, I want to shout out my Block Strongest Man in the chat on YouTube, which we implore you, join us live while we're simul streaming on the Twitter and the YouTube. Chat with us, tweet us. He says, you guys know how much I love Bret Hart, but even I thought it was hilarious when Razor kept pronouncing his name as the Hitman, which is so, the way he said Mang about everything, which again, you know what I mean? Like in today's day and age, maybe that's a bad thing that goes, not well for somebody, but
it wasn't meant with malicious intent. It was meant to say, I want to be different.
Well, he was trying to put on an accent that he didn't really have,
but it's also, I'm trying to be different than Diesel, who is also kind of similar to Psycho Sid, who's also kind of similar to, you have to say, this is my avenue of originality. So,
right.
Yeah.
And check out my Block Strongest Man. Check out his videos and stuff.
Check
really
out
into
his
the strong
videos.
Man stuff if you're into that stuff.
Look at that.
Which we are
strong
not.
Man.
We're strong men.
Look at that. That's how my arm is. That's how it is with muscles.
Yeah, but you got some 12.4 inch pythons there. What do we got?
There we go.
12.4 inch. I like that. All right, here's the final news story. You excited?
No.
I can't even say this. Queen Sharmell will join Vader and The Undertaker in the 2022 WWE Hall of Fame class. Former Miss Black America and WCW Nitro girl, Sharmell signed with WWE through Ohio Valley Wrestling in 2001 and was most prominently featured as Queen Sharmell, wife of King Booker, after Booker T won the 2006 King of the Ring tournament. Interesting left turn at Albuquerque, right? We go Undertaker, Vader, Queen Sharmell. I don't think anybody would have, like, if we polled 20,000 wrestling fans over the last however long, nobody would have suggested that name.
I can't even think of anything she did.
Yeah. Like I remember her being
I remember her being next to King Booker.
Right.
But as far as like her
moments.
Driving
Her storyline.
driving a
Yeah,
storyline.
I don't know.
Actually, there is one, and I don't think they're going to talk about it. But it was when Kurt Angle wanted to rape her. Remember that? Remember when Kurt Angle was like, I just want to just grab her. And, that was weird.
You know what comes to mind when I think Queen Sharmell is I remember Vince McMahon saying the N-word and Booker T like looking over and being like, tell me he didn't just say that.
Mm-hmm.
That was her, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Was it also... wasn't she afraid of the Boogeyman? That's what led to the Boogeyman and Booker T's
I believe that's right.
WrestleMania match. So there you go. We're really scraping at the bottom of the barrel with thinking like, what was her signature match?
Yeah, are we gonna get Playboy Buddy Rose's blow away diet? Like, isn't that?
Yeah.
Like, that's.
Why don't we just?
Well, there's an old guy reference.
Yeah, that was a good one. Why don't we just put in the fucking the toucan for Coco Beware? Not put in Coco Beware. He's already in. Let's put in.
What
the
about
fucking
Phineas
toucan.
I. Godwin?
Yeah. What about Chris Jericho's security guard? What was his name?
Oh,
in WCW?
Ralphus.
Ralphus. Yeah, let's put in Ralphus, right? Like that's what we're getting with Queen Sharmell. And this is
what I told you. You guys went too many people each year. Like what? I get like it's not always single individuals, but I would do like 3 or 4 max each year of like entities, right? If we're doing the NWO and then we're doing a person and then we're doing a tag team or a celebrity or whatever, maybe you do a 4th with the celebrity, like I'm saying, that's kind of out there. But even that, I don't know. You've got a celebrity every year. I don't know that you would guarantee a celebrity every year. I know they do it because it's fucking paparazzi material, but Jesus Christ, it's a joke now, right? Like, I don't want to say Queen Sharmell's a joke. Like, she put in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, did these performances, and great on you, of course. Like, if you work somewhere for several years and they're like, you want to join our Hall of Fame, you absolutely do that, of course. But I don't want to say she's not deserving, I guess, but like,
well, but I will because there's a difference, right? Like, let's use real professional sports for just a quick second, right? I love baseball. One of the signature baseball players in Kansas City growing up was Mike Sweeney. He was awesome. You loved Mike Sweeney. He was an all-star. He could hit a double if you needed it. All the great stuff. He's not a fucking Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like, there's a threshold to get into the Hall of Fame.
And it's your reference. You said at times, like, people need to get over, like, the Hall of Fame in some aspect of, like, it's not always like these are the best to do it. It's the Hall of Fame, right?
Famous.
They have some fame. But she doesn't meet that criteria either. If she's walking around your local Walmart right now, you're not going to be like, Queen Sharmell. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even going to notice her.
Yeah, if you were to do a meet and greet and you were to put Queen Sharmell and Virgil next to each other, who's getting more people? Honest to God, who's getting more people?
Virgil is getting more people.
Yeah, like, and it's nothing against her. It's the threshold of famous and also body of work, and neither one she meets.
Yeah, this feels like, I mean, I know they're in Texas, but like, does she have a local Texas draw like Booker T does with his little wrestling reality? Is there some kind of deal they're working for Booker where he was like,
that's what I was thinking, is like Booker went to Vince and says, hey, Tony Khan offered me a couple different possibilities to manage FTR or whatever it is, and Vince is like, what do you want? Hey, I'll put your wife in. I'll put your wife into the Hall of Fame. She loves that, right? That'd be awesome. And then, hey, Queen Sharmell's in your Hall of Fame. That's what I'm thinking.
Weird.
I'm thinking there's something
really weird,
backstage. Right? Yeah. And what is she going to say? Thanks? And walk off?
Booker T's got some photos of McMahon in compromising positions.
Something.
I don't know.
Something.
All right. Well, then that's the news that I had. Those are the biggest stories, right? Once again, I mean, rest in peace.
Hey, yo.
Scott Hall. I don't think there's anybody I'll ever consider my favorite over him. I've yet to see the person yet.
Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah. He is definitely awesome.
Yeah. But let's get into AEW, which is what our love in pro wrestling is right now. All Elite Wrestling and AEW Dynamite. Let's break it down, Tom. You got the card up? I
do got the card up. But before we get into this, what did you think of Dynamite last night?
Oh, it was fun again. Always going out to party.
Here's the thing that you just realized, because I think it was 2 weeks ago or maybe even last week. I don't know. Things are blending into each other. But there was one crowd for Dynamite where Dynamite put on an exceptional show. It wasn't an all-time classic. It wasn't going to be something that is going to be written about as far as the history of this company. However, it was a very good show. And that crowd sat on their hands the entire time, and it made it such an odd experience. Last night in San Antonio, that crowd acted as if, Tay Conti just walking out to wave hi was a fucking highlight of their night. You know what I mean? Everything was incredible to them, which just made the at-home viewing experience just that much better. That was the first thing I wanted to say is that crowd, credit to them for making this an even better episode than what it actually was. Not to say it was bad at all, but they deserve some credit.
Crowd helps. I know, there's a fine line to walk, right? Of making it about yourself and then enhancing the thing. I think if you're doing chants that don't make sense, that's when you're crossing the line, right? If you're, you know what I mean? Like if you're chanting what over somebody when Steve Austin's nowhere around or didn't even make a reference, it just doesn't make sense, right? Right. But if you're, you know what I mean? If you're just be into the things that you're into and just chant it out, right? And that's the deal, right? I think it makes for a hyped crowd when you get excited to be there.
Well, let's get right into what they were into, and that was the entrances for the first match. You had Adam Cole and Red Wagon taking on Hangman Adam Page and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, Jurassic Express. And these three entrances, because Red Wagon comes out with Adam Cole, it acted as if it was the main event of a pay-per-view. They were incredible for this.
Loved it. Yeah, I loved it. God, the Jungle Boy song, Jurassic Express song always gets you hyped. You want to be in on it. And then Hangman. I mean, everybody loves Hangman. So you're
I will still
say
this. I will still say this, and this may be biased because I do like Hangman that much, but you put his song in any situation and it fits. I don't give a shit what it is. You want to go ask your boss for a raise? Play that song as you're walking into the office. You want to ask a girl out for a first date? Play that song and it works. You got to fight the bully at the end of the school day? Play that song and it works. That
you want
to
do all those things?
Awesome.
Play that song and it works.
And it works. It's just that song pumps me the fuck up. I don't even like country stuff. And this motherfucker wants me to buy a cowboy
that's more like
hat.
a Western style thing.
But I want to buy a fucking cowboy hat.
It makes you feel like you're in the moment. Focus on the goal.
Yeah,
it's time to kill it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, here's the thing that I love.
You can't be anything but the hero with that music playing behind you.
Exactly. It's the fucking coolest thing in the world. That whoever made that music, credit to you. Chef's kiss.
Was that Ruckus?
Maybe.
I don't know.
He's awesome. If he does, credit to you. You're awesome. Here was the thing, though, as we've talked about in the past, where the moves don't always matter. You know what I mean, right? It's the story.
Moves don't matter. Yeah.
I will say, though, Cesaro, this is where you got to do something different. Because Hangman had a hot tag where he does the fall-away slam into the suicide dive, into a clothesline over the ropes, into another. That's a Cesaro hot tag. And Hangman did it just as good. And so that's where I left going, hey, Cesaro, you're out here in free agency. You need to develop something else because we got guys that are just doing what you're doing.
You know what he could do when the hot tag isn't a thing he can do anymore? The failed hot tag.
Hey,
Failed hot tag.
Yes, but Hangman's hot tag was
Hangman can't fail at the hot tag.
Right. But his hot tag was outstanding.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He killed it. The crowd
timing on something
it.
like that too is harder than it looks, right? Everybody's got to be in their spot. You got to take your steps right. Yeah, and endurance. You got to have some gusto. Yeah, you got to have some.
You got to keep running.
You got some lungs on you.
Yeah, you can't just walk to the next spot. You got to make it look believable. So he was outstanding. Jungle Boy was great. Luchasaurus. Here's the thing that people, I think, need to start realizing. We give so much shit to WWE for calling all these old timers to carry a card, right? We're calling on old man Goldberg, calling on old man Edge and all that. We got 65,000-year-old Luchasaurus up here still getting it done.
Yeah.
So like it can happen. So Goldberg, step
Dustin
it up.
Rhodes and
next time you're in the ring.
Luchasaurus, two oldest guys to ever work a match ever.
I think so. Well, Sting as well.
Right.
Because I think Sting's older than
Sting's, I think, 89 years old.
I believe you're right.
Yep.
I believe you're right.
After that table fall. I think he was 60-something, but the table fall.
It adds years to your life, that's for sure. So Adam Cole gets the victory. He gets the knee to the back of the head of Jungle Boy. So what do you think happens after this match? Because the bad guys won, which is kind of interesting because you had the super of super teams, right? It's your heavyweight champion and your tag team champions. And I know they're not like Red Wagon and Adam Cole as far as like best buddies, but like, you would think those.
I think you're right. I think we're getting a Kenny Omega, Adam Cole showdown here soon. And so I think maybe this is just to like ease into, we're going to get Red Wagon up against Jurassic Express.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? So, but you know what Hangman does following that and how they break away Adam Cole, because you would think he'd be like, all right, give me a title shot again, right? Like,
right. Okay, well, I'll beat you clean. I'll beat you clean again.
Yeah, so I don't know where they go from there, but
here's an interesting thing that I thought, and we're going to jump around just a little bit, but we'll get back on track.
Hey,
later on in the show.
Fucking show.
Right. Later on in the show.
Hey, yo.
FTR is cutting a promo with Tony Schiavone backstage, and before they could even say, like, other than the reason they fired Tully Blanchard, Young Bucks came out, and they just said, hey, you're the second best tag team as long as we're here. Which is telling you that they think FTR is better than Red Wagon. That's the part where I was like, if I'm Red Wagon, I'm coming up to you and going like,
second best.
Hey, I know we're trying to diss
like, you
FTR.
guys are placing yourself third because we're first, right?
Yeah, like.
Yep. Sounds exactly what Kyle O'Reilly would say. Be like, that must mean you think you guys are like third or worse because like we're number one clearly, and everybody understands that.
Yeah, but for them to say that FTR is second, I would walk up and go, no, I get you're trying to diss FTR, but you know, like, we're better than them. And so that's a slip of the tongue. And I think, again, details matter in AEW, right? More than any other promotion that I can think of off the top of my head. Details matter there. I think that comment might come back to bite Young Bucks in the ass because they're trying to dig at FTR. Meanwhile, their frenemies over here are listening to what they have to say.
Details matter in AEW for some. I think it's that. I mean, I think Young Bucks pay attention to the details. The Bullet Club is full of these little, you know, twists and turns and all of that.
Yeah, and I think
we'll discuss later some people who failed to pay attention to the details, but we'll get there.
Ooh, foreshadowing. I like it. All right, so then
stay tuned, motherfuckers. We're live, by the way. We are live on YouTube and Twitter, simul streaming, which is a fucking word, I'm sure of it. And you should join us if you're just listening to this later on the podcast. We love you as well, but that's what you should be doing when you're listening to it a second time after you've watched it live.
You ain't lying.
Right.
You are not lying. So now let's get into the AEW Rampage roster because it feels like we got a brand split. We get Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs talking to Keith Lee.
Yeah, continuing this, huh?
But here, again, details matter. And I think details matter when you're the executive vice president and you're writing the shit and you have the power to write the shit, right? However, I don't understand. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs want to beat up Keith Lee, right? Powerhouse Hobbs had that spine buster on Keith Lee at Rampage last Friday. So they're obviously like, hey, we want to fight each other. And Keith Lee's all about it too, right? So why are we getting Keith Lee versus Max Caster on Friday night?
Yeah.
I just
why
do
don't we
the
go
match.
There? Yeah, I mean, unless they're planning on doing this as like match 3 on the next pay-per-view card, but we've got a while to get there.
And that's totally fine. But then one of the parties has to say, not right now. That's the thing. If Keith Lee is like, hey, Powerhouse Hobbs, I'll get to you in a second, but I want the TNT championship. Okay.
I think maybe this is where we get away from Ricky Starks and Team Taz, and maybe Keith Lee takes that spot. And then we've got like Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook.
No.
Yeah,
no.
And Keith Lee can't go heel, right? Not yet. Not now. He's still on fire with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was another detail that we've called out a couple different times now. It was Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Where the fuck is Hook? Where's Hook?
Yeah, I know. Like you would think anytime they could squeeze Hook onto television, they would. Now, I know sometimes that's a WWE mentality, right? Like, get him out there, get him out there, get him out there. But maybe
chips,
not.
But eating chips behind Powerhouse Hobbs is the easiest thing to do.
The laid back, cool Hook. I mean, he is laid back, cool when he's coming to the ring and
but he's Team Taz,
right? Yeah, because now it's not Team Taz if it's just two guys,
it's just
right?
you by yourself. But like, it's also you're not in Team Taz if you're just never with them. Like, you just walk out by yourself, win a match, and go walk off by yourself. Like,
you don't carry a banner that says Team Taz. You ain't got a jacket.
Yeah, nothing.
You don't have a vest. Everybody needs a vest for their right. Yeah, everybody needs a vest for their faction.
But he don't have one.
He ain't got no vest. No vest says Hook.
And that's as easy as you can do it with Hook, because we've done it before. Is, Powerhouse Hobbs and Keith Lee had this, side-eyed look at each other. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs leaves, and then Hook is just like, "Hey, Keith Lee, you want some chips?" And that's all you got to do.
Oh, I wouldn't even do that, right? So they're doing the whole thing. The whole time Hook isn't even looking at anybody, right? He's eating chips. He's like checking his phone, whatever. They all like storm off. He like looks up and sees they're gone. He just crumples the bag and like hands it to Keith Lee and just fucking walks off. You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
Didn't realize who he was. I'm in my own world. Right. Yeah. So
he's like, "Oh shit, I thought he worked here."
But again, going back to the point of like, if both guys want to fight each other, and this is the promotion where we just make matches like we have in our main event, well, then just make the fucking match, because Ricky Starks isn't running away. Powerhouse Hobbs isn't running away. Keith Lee's down.
And let's be clear, like, yeah, they're fine, but they're not coming away with great zingers on each other, right? So it's like, it's a weird that they're just having this back and forth if you're not really saying much.
Right, exactly. Right. So let's fight. Let's fight is what I'm getting at. So let's get back into the ring.
Isn't that what Taz would want?
You would think.
Why don't we see Taz anymore either? We don't see Taz in Team Taz. What's going on here?
I don't know. It's a little bit disorganized. We need
the two people that have Taz blood ain't even hanging around.
Yeah. What the hell's going on? So let's get back into the ring here. We get a tag team match. We get Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson with William Regal on commentary, taking on Wheeler Yuta and Chuck Taylor. And look, I like what we're doing with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson and William Regal doing this whole, we want violence, motherfuckers, right? Bring the violence. Okay. I don't know what we're doing though. What are we doing?
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, when does it start? Right? I was like, when does it start? Now, if this Wheeler Yuta thing is where it goes and they just brutally, waterboard torture this kid. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have a whole lot of faith that Wheeler Yuta is ever going to elevate past the level of like guy with one facial expression.
Well, I mean, the book is still out on that, but what I guess I'm not understanding is if Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson are this badass tag team and they go to the Best Friends faction, wouldn't the Best Friends say, we're going to put out our best tag team, which is Trent and Chuck Taylor? Like, why would Wheeler Yuta?
So I think here, like, if they start, if they're like, Wheeler, what was that? And he's like, listen, man, if they're going to get me to where I need to be, then I'm going to get there, right? Like, no offense, guys, but, like, I'm still working, you know what I mean? Like, the undercard with you guys, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting nowhere. But if I can come away with them get me to a better spot and learning some more violence, maybe that's where I need to step up my game. And then they're like, hey, man, stop poaching our fucking friends. And they're like, what are you going to do about it? Show me.
And then they bring on the Best Friends.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I get that. But it just felt weird that the Best Friends faction or Team Chaos or whatever the fuck we're calling this team or this faction, our best guys are the understudy and the other Chuck Taylor. Like,
what did William Regal say when he was like, tell me, man in the mask, who is when he was talking about Danhausen?
Yeah.
He was like, who's the demon clown or whatever?
Yeah, something. Yeah, that was great. And here's one other thing that I want to see. I don't know if he's still recovering, like breaking kayfabe here for a second. I don't know if he's still recovering from a broken leg or whatever it is, but let's get Danhausen wrestling. I want to see him wrestle now. I want to see the teeth go down someone's throat.
Yeah, he had a broken leg. Like, it wasn't too long ago, I don't think.
That's true. Maybe I'm just trying to rush him, but I want to see some teeth go down someone's throat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Let's get to it.
I do know what you mean. But yes, I'm interested in the violent, we're here to show these kids how to be violent. They haven't done a great job of explaining why that matters to them as much, right? Why that's driving them a whole lot.
Well, one thing that was alluded to when Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley were first having this conversation that predated William Regal is Bryan Danielson said to Jon Moxley, let's train them how pro wrestlers should be. I'm paraphrasing there, but essentially we need to create pro wrestlers in our image. Now here's the interesting part. I thought immediately following Wheeler Yuta taking that shot to the face and then getting in Regal's face, and then Moxley and Bryan Danielson's like, the fuck you gonna do, right? And then okay, we get the segment.
Danielson's
right?
even
come on, you really want to go again?
Yeah.
We just choked you out, right? But immediately following, we want the violence, we want pro wrestlers. We get the Jericho Appreciation Society, who does the polar opposite and says, we are sports entertainers. Now, where my mind immediately went to is we're going to do Jericho and William Regal promo ops, and we're going to get Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus, they're not 2.0 anymore, but whatever that fucking tag team is. And then we're going to get Daniel Garcia and Jake Hager and whatever that tag team is. And we're going to get sports entertainers versus violence or pro wrestlers. And you know who's the most interesting part in all of that? Daniel Garcia, because Daniel Garcia was one of the first names Bryan Danielson said in the whole, let's recruit these fucking, right.
Yeah. So here's the thing I was referencing earlier when I was referencing not paying attention to the details.
Okay.
Because you guys, well, first of all, let's address this. He's like, we're not, no more fake names. We're using real names. I'm Chris Jericho, which is not his real fucking name.
At this point, though, it is.
And then, two, the sports entertainers are the ones changing their fucking names. That's where you get the Braun Breakers and the goddamn Nia Jaxes and all that shit. So, you should have went ridiculous, stupid fucking names. Not real names.
Well, they did, but they did.
And then, the whole thing of well, we're sports entertainers and we beat up pro wrestlers. The sports entertainers aren't the ones beating people up. That's the point. It's they're doing the fucking dancing and the choreographing. It just all missed for me because that's but you're being the antithesis of what you say you're being.
Now, there's something to that because, again, heels are supposed to be delusional, right? If they all made the sense, then they would just be baby faces, right?
Yeah, then we'd be like, right, yeah, I like it,
Yeah. Now, two, I totally agree with you. Sports entertainers are the ones that do the dancing number with MJF instead of the wrestling match like Bryan Danielson. However, the making up the names thing, even though we all go by our names, we get, what is it? Matt Daddy.
Menards?
Yeah, whatever. And Cool Hand Luke or whatever. All the fuck. They gave them sports entertainer names.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Weird
the
names.
nicknames.
Yeah, right.
The one detail that I thought that was missing, though, is Chris Jericho does say, that was bad creative. You're never going to hear from it again. But then doesn't say, and now the team is called.
Yeah, he just said their real names. Do they have a new tag team name? Because, they need a tag team name. I'm not going to call them Matt Menard and Antonio Whoosy What's It that you're fucking saying.
Yeah, so that was the part where, okay, great. We're not calling them 2.0. Because, again, what was the original version? We don't know as AEW fans. Now you could go and investigate.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Still, it's not a name that makes a whole lot of immediate sense. People be like 2.0 what? You'll be like,
right.
It's hard to explain.
Exactly. But we didn't get the name. That was the only part where I was just like, hey, could have. But anyhow, I just thought to have back-to-back segments of violence and pro wrestlers and the way of the future is blood, and then to say we are sports entertainers and we like glitz and glamour, I just feel like that's a collision course. Maybe not next week.
Maybe.
Sometime soon.
I'm in the camp of hoping this Jericho Appreciation Society is short-lived and we just get 2.0 over and Daniel Garcia a little more over in the process.
Yeah, what I fear, because Jericho loves the spotlight, for better or for worse, right? I fear that, hey, I didn't really come off great in the last Blood and Guts match. Let's do it again, brother. And we
We
get
need a new
Jericho
Stadium
Appreciation.
Stampede match.
Right. Now,
Because
I
how
think
sports entertainer is that?
Yeah. Now that is.
Right.
Now, I think their first feud is obvious. It's going to be whenever Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz come back. With that being said, though, that's 3.
Yeah.
They got 5. Who's the other 2?
Could it be Moxley and Danielson? I mean, Moxley's Kingston's friend, and so we get this. But then they got Wheeler Yuta in the mix, so I think that's a separate deal.
Yeah, that's a separate deal. No, I think this William Regal thing is going to be a couple feuds later. I think when we get them built to like where we think they're going to go, that's when they collide. I don't think it's an immediate thing. I just
could be
think
Moxley and Danielson. Could be Lucha Bros because they're friends with Eddie, right?
Mm-hmm.
To like team up for a 5-on-5, right? Like if we were doing the Stadium Stampede or something of that nature, or the Blood and Guts or the whatever.
Yeah. So you're going Lucha Bros. That's a great pick. That is a great pick. I'm going.
But who has a Jericho tie?
Well, see, I'm not going there. I'm going like just who needs some shine. Because Jake Hager, of all of them, is the biggest guy, right? So we need someone to stare down.
Is he still
right?
here?
I don't know.
What the fuck is the deal with that?
I don't know. You know who I'm adding to the group for shits and giggles? Because again, we need someone to like throw around Jake Hager. He re-signed. I'm adding Brian Cage. Brian Cage, Eddie Kingston, Santana Ortiz, and then my 5th, I think you need a high-flying doopsie-doo kind of guy. The repackaged, look, I keep saying this guy's fucking name 10,000 times. I don't even really like him that much, but he's trying to repackage himself. Throw in Kip Sabian. Throw that motherfucker in there.
With Brian Cage, can we like make it look like so he doesn't like do moonlighting as a ska band bass guitarist or something? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
He looks like a Chippendales dancer.
Something just like there's something just like doesn't feel right when I watch Brian Cage, right? Like he can do all the stuff.
He can do all the stuff.
Looks like a fucking $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't even say it's a lack of charisma. Like he's got a charisma, but I don't know if it just like it feels different. Does that make sense? Like it just doesn't. Like, I don't know what it is. Where I'm like this isn't right.
All right, so let's sub him out. We'll sub him out.
But I'd be interested to like see if we could pinpoint what that is, like and what that would be to fix that.
But let's sub him out just for fantasy booking sakes. Let's sub him out, and let's put in Everybody Dies. Lance Archer.
That's not
and
bad.
Then let's take
feels like a Kingston guy, right?
Yeah.
Kingston could reel him in, right? The loose cannon, not thinking straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then who could be but Kip Sabian doesn't fit, right? He's too pretty, boy. He's a sports entertainer. Who could be our high flying, dipsy doing guy that matches up with, well, I guess they have Daniel Garcia, but who would be another young kind of up and coming guy? Let's take a look here.
Yeah.
Let's
workshop this live.
Yeah, I like it. Let's buy some time here.
I'm trying to think of who might be like needing that breakout to jump out. That's like you're saying, more of the like thinner mat base guy, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have too many younger options because Dante Martin and Darius Martin, that's a tag team. So, you already have the tag team with Santana and Ortiz.
Yep. The Acclaim's already booked up with their gimmick.
Yeah.
Who's
Lee Moriarty. Lee Moriarty. That's
who. A good one. Yep.
Him and Daniel Garcia bumping heads into each other.
That's good.
There you go. Yep. So I'm doing Lee,
that's a good
Lance Archer, Eddie Kingston, Santana and Ortiz. Boom.
Like that.
There it is.
I like that.
There it is.
All right.
So let's get back into it. So that was fun. Next up was okay. We had the TNT Championship match. It was Wardlow. This is war. Taking on Scorpio. Look to the sky.
Yeah, and I think we factored how Wardlow would not win this, right? MJF's going to come in, do the distraction. Because otherwise, I think I even asked on Twitter, I was like, so Scorpio Sky dies tonight, huh? Like, that's how we've been booking Wardlow, right?
So now I think the question needs to be asked next year, who the fuck wants to win this Face of the Revolution thing? It does nothing for anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Scorpio Sky was the first guy to win it. He doesn't capitalize on the TNT Championship match. And maybe that's the gimmick that we're going to go with, right? We do 2 more years of up-and-coming guy wins ladder match for Face of the Revolution, loses the TNT Championship match. By year 5, it's who can break through and finally win the TNT championship match. I think maybe that's where we're going. Because 2 years in, I don't want to fucking win that thing, right? I don't want the Cheerio.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I really like... I noticed that last time. I was like, the Face of the Revolution doesn't get you anything. Like, they don't promise you nothing. They don't.
Well, it gets you a TNT Championship match. That's what it gets you, right?
Sure.
And we're saying the TNT Championship means something, so it is something, right? But there's no build-up. There's no, like, me and you champ like, at the next pay-per-view. Right? Yeah, it's just like, hey, all right, you get it next time.
Yeah, you don't get a program.
Right. You just get a one-off.
And it's like, and so, like, Scorpio Sky's got the title, and it's like, fucking, and Wardlow, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. It just, this match, I don't know. The American Top Team thing for me is falling flat. You know, like the Wardlow stuff with MJF, we saw that coming. We knew that's got to go somewhere. They've got to have their show off. We expected that. That's fine. That's where it was going to take us. We'll get some showdowns between them. But what is American Top Team doing and Scorpio Sky? And, like, what are we doing with these guys?
Well, I think we're just buying time to get Paige Van Zant used to being on camera. And eventually we're going to get the Paige Van Zant match. I don't fucking care about it.
But, like, Scorpio Sky is TNT championship. Again, Scorpio Sky, like, guys, I know we really want him to be a thing because he's probably a nice guy. He can do all the things. Right. But it's another one where it's like, he's not Scott Hall, right? Like, he's not, nobody is, right? But, like, he's not giving me any, like, charisma or reason to care whether he wins or loses.
He snaps his fingers, though, at the end of the promo. And that means it's over.
I guess.
Aha.
Yeah, kind of like, I would have went with Ethan Page out of the two if we were doing this. He's at least got some more, I don't know, chops, but I don't even know that would have done it for me either.
The mid-card is at a really interesting spot because we've got some guys who have been there maybe a little bit too long, but aren't ready for the main event picture. And then we got other guys where, well, they've been doing nothing for so long, so let's give them a shot with the title, like Scorpio Sky. And it's just this weird spot of, like, who is, like, we know MJF is the future, right? Like, if you were to say, of all these fucking guys that are 27 and younger, who's the fucking one you're pushing to the moon? It's MJF, right? But other than that, and he's already at the main event picture, right? He's already with CM Punk and all that stuff. But who is it? Because
I don't know.
Darby is just turning into the APA with Sting.
Yep.
Sammy Guevara is nope.
Look, I'm telling you, I think, again, I probably did say this about all the names you'd mentioned as they were happening. I was like, yeah, sure, Darby, you know, okay.
Well, I like Darby, but I'm just feeling like he's a neutral.
But I never was like, he's going to be the guy that, like, we're going to now move him into a main event thing. I was like, it's not going to work. The crowd at large just isn't going to like.
No, I think that, I think they will. I think they are behind
Darby. Sammy. I don't agree. I don't know.
Sammy, no. Sammy, get him out. Sammy is as WWE vanilla as it gets.
Yeah.
Like, go to WWE, Sammy. Yeah. That's what I think.
At least Darby is unique in his character that nobody else is doing, right? But he also, like, just when he cuts the promo, I'm just kind of like, all right, man, I get that you, like, really practiced that 14 times before he came out. Now, I used to say that about AJ Styles, and I wouldn't say that anymore. So people can grow and get better, obviously.
I think the only thing that's a hindrance to Darby Allin, and no offense to him because I love him, is Sting. I think he's just been in this neutral state of, well, me and Sting are.
Here's where I agree that, like, we need to get him away from Sting. But I remember, like, okay, but when he's gone and he goes to, like, feud against whomever, let's say fucking Jericho, right? Or whoever, right? Whoever it is. Eddie Kingston, right? Like I'm not sure that everybody's getting behind, like, but I'm sad inside and I skateboard. Like, I don't fucking, like, what is that?
Well, I think that's a 2022 version of Raven, right? We didn't, people didn't understand what Raven was.
Right? If he starts doing that, if he starts getting a bunch of lackeys that he's like fucking gaslighting, like I'm down for that.
And speaks in these like poems of Bray Wyatt not understanding what the hell he's talking about thing. And that's what I think he's capable of. And then again, the just whole, like, I don't give a shit about my safety thing. That's always entertaining to watch. The mid card just doesn't really have that next person I'm looking for.
I've got to take a wild left turn here because it just hit me something that it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be one of the probably amusingly disappointing things that happen in wrestling in a long time. I know where Bray Wyatt's gonna go now.
No.
Control your narrative.
No, get the fuck out of here.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Yep.
Rule 1, you're in control. Rule 2, you're in control. Rule 5, you can't do these moves.
Yeah, you're not in control. And then
fucking idiots.
And then real matches hit their times, but fights is well, what's fucking real then? Are you telling me it's not real? Well, and then they mess up their twos and their fucking guys. God. I'm never gonna watch a fucking second of this shit. Well,
that's just 3 guys that love the smell.
But that's where Barry Windham goes, right? Or whatever is fucking Windham Rotunda.
No, he's smarter than them. He's smarter.
Well, yeah, he knows he's gonna command the money.
Yeah, well, and he's also like those fucking dorks. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, those guys are fucking
control
dorks.
EC3's narrative is what we're doing here.
Yeah, and then that fucking guy, Jesus Christ. But let's get back on track here. You know what I would do with American Top Team to get rid of them while we're kind of going in and out of fantasy booking things? Look, Dan Lambert has a shelf life that I think is soon to expire, right? Yeah. So I think we got to scare him out of AEW.
Yeah, I would use him infrequently, right? Like he's good when he can get a mic and get some heat quickly, but it becomes formulaic over time.
Yeah, because even that, I hate to use the term, but it starts just to become cheap heat, right? It's this town stinks,
right.
That wrestler is young,
right.
You know.
That's what I'm saying. Absence will make the heart grow fonder with Dan Lambert.
Right. So I think we got to scare him out of town. We got to say he doesn't even be next to Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky because he's too scared to even show up at AEW. So you know who has to fucking just run him off? The House of Black.
Yeah.
Aleister Black needs to be like, oh, and then spit the fucking thing in his face. And then that's when Dan Lambert's like, never going back to that fucking place again. And then we can have, or I said Aleister Black. Is it Aleister? No, it's Malachi
Black.
Malachi Black can then be your TNT champion. Who's going to take it from the Boogeyman? That's where I think we go. Because, yeah, Scorpio Sky ain't doing it. Sammy Guevara is not doing it.
Yep.
Miro is the fucking TNT champ. That was the best TNT champ of all time.
With American Top Team being involved with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, the men of the year, it would help if they had, I don't know, some kind of MMA
they tried.
Idea about them. Yeah, I know they tried that, but and that's what I mean. It's just got to go. They fit with Ricky Starks better than
that's the team. Yeah, Ricky Starks and Men of the Year. That's the fucking
the self-implosion of those egos and stuff, right?
Yeah. But I think, I just think that we got to get rid of the Scorpio Sky champion thing because it's already on a bad foot. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, so in our 4th match, we get Private Party with their old school entrance going through the red velvet rope there, taking on the saddest version of the Hardys. And look, I said it earlier, Jeff Hardy can do no wrong in a lot of people's eyes. I think you and I agree. He's not our cup of tea, but we understand the fun paint and all the shit is for some people, right? But man, we got Matt Hardy obviously losing his hair, Jeff Hardy kind of in and out as far as paying attention.
Matt Hardy walks like Hulk Hogan more than Hulk Hogan walks like Hulk Hogan.
I know. And Jeff Hardy's not a half second behind him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's right on his heels.
Jeff Hardy is a few more, trips around the globe away from pulling a Billy Kidman, on one of these fucking, whisper in the wind moves or whatever and fucking land on his neck also.
Yeah, it's just, but even more so, and I think we even talked about this when they reformed. They did that already, right? And they did it better in WWE when it was at WrestleMania and the whole crowd of 100,000 or whatever it was goes nuts. It just, it looked, it. You know what it felt like to me? Honest to God, it felt like at WrestleMania 17 when Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan came out as the special commentators for the gimmick battle royal, and you had Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter and Bushwhacker Luke all walking to the ring. Those guys felt like what I saw the Hardys walking into last night was. Like, it just,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying, hey, get out of here, you're not welcome and any of that stuff, but athleticism that's on the back end of their career. So we need to do some more creativity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just not, again, wasn't ever the big Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy guy, wasn't the Hardy Boys dude. So I just, it's not my thing. And now seeing it old is definitely not my thing. So that's all I don't have much else to it's never gonna, like, they're not gonna do anything where I'm like, oh, now I'm intrigued.
Look, they may, right? Maybe a cinematic match is the thing that gets them their crowning achievement, but I don't know. I just don't know. So post-match, the Andrade family, whatever it is, comes out. And then again, the spooky APA comes out, Sting and Darby Allin, and they just chase them off. And that's what I'm trying to say is, like, Darby Allin has APA something
now, right? Like they're the AEW police all of a sudden.
Yeah, they just come out and, hey guys, we need law and order. Okay,
don't do that.
Yeah,
paint your face instead. Come hang out with us.
I just feel like we do have something there with Darby, right? That program that he did with MJF, and I understand MJF is MJF, but still, that program was also carried by what Darby Allin was saying and doing as well. And now he's just, hey, everyone, act according to how we should be doing this thing. Like, I don't know. It feels like we're wasting time with him.
Yeah.
One thing I missed before the tag match with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson that I want to get back to is a tweet the table. It comes to us from @DevilVamp, and it says, thought experiment. Would a hashtag WWE crowd enjoy a hashtag AEW type match, i.e. Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley? Hashtag Raw, hashtag SmackDown, hashtag tweet the table. And then he continues, a match that is more physical, hard hitting, and realistic. Remember, I'm talking about the WWE crowd, not the internet.
No, I think so, because like there are matches in WWE histories that were technical masterpieces that we all remember fondly. I think we all hark back to, like, this was not even WWE main roster, but it was, well, and so maybe that's it. Maybe it was Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, right?
But Walter, in, all of his matches.
Yeah, I mean, there was even WWE like WrestleMania matches when you're talking about the Bret Hart era and those kinds of things that people remember fondly. Now, I think WWE's right. Like, to the masses, hey, look, there's all sorts of reasons why people are dumbed down and need their entertainment quickly these days. You know what I mean? There was an opioid crisis. There was, you know what I mean? Like, things are just kind of like soft, easy, and fast. You know what I mean? We're used to the TikToks. We're used to the fucking things. And so, yeah, I mean, they're probably right where, like, fucking profit number goes up when we fucking cycle this shit in and out and Hogan must pose and be gone.
Well, I think the other thing that's not being considered in the difference between an AEW match and a WWE match is, at current time, a WWE match on Monday Night Raw, let's just say Seth Rollins versus Edge, just making it up, right? They're going to do that match on Monday night, and then they're going to go out the next night in Poughkeepsie and do the match again. And then on Wednesday night, they're going to be in Cincinnati and do the match again, where AEW does it on Wednesday night. And then next Wednesday. So, like, we obviously saw with Big E's injury, like, you do things enough times, there's going to be a time you slip on a banana peel. So why take the risk of cutting yourself here when you fucking accidentally cut your eyeball or whatever it is, right?
I don't think it's that like the WWE crowd wouldn't enjoy it as much as like WWE has not set the stage for their crowd to enjoy it. If that makes sense.
And I think I'm taking it from a different angle as far as WWE wouldn't want a match like that on their television because
well, I think that's the same angle, right? Like
we got to get out of here.
Right.
But I think I like I said, there's been matches on other brands, Walter's matches, Pete Dunne's matches, Tyler Bates matches where it's like, of course we would love that shit.
I think the issue lies in the WWE brass because I think the crowd will like it. I think what you get with the WWE crowd, with the crowds who enjoy the mass of anything, right? Like, I enjoy Coke. Why is that your favorite soda? I don't know, fucking Coke, right? Like that kind of thing, right? Like, I love this show because it's on NBC at 7 p.m., right? Like, people will like better, but the lack of better is fine enough so they don't go seeking better. But if you gave them better, they would like that as well. Yes, I do think they would enjoy it, but WWE's never giving it to them.
Mm-hmm. Because they got to get to the next town. Yeah, because they got to get to the next town that wants to see Roman must pose.
So yes, I think they would, but not if you did it like tomorrow. But like if that was WWE's structure and way, yes. Now, I mean, would the crowd still be there? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like we don't know because WWE just doesn't do it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see.
So I did miss that tweet table, so I definitely wanted to get to that. I also wanted to get to, before we get to our main event, a quick little vignette that we got backstage. Looks like our favorite alien, Chris Statlander, said, fuck that shit. She took out the eye contacts. She rubbed away the makeup. What do you think of what happens here to our favorite alien, Chris Statlander?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's a good move to go away from that. If you weren't going to go all in on it. Right? Like if you weren't going to be really weird, like you said. However, you got to come up with something else because just being Chris Statlander now in like regular colored tights ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, I think the wrong move was made. I think it should have been her staring at the stars going like, oh, my long lost aunt is telling me to increase my physicality, and it's like, what the fuck is she talking about? And then she's just throwing around red velvet or fill in the blank. I would have went that route, but I don't know. That was interesting. That was one other thing I wanted to bring up before we get to our main event for the AEW Women's World Championship match. The first time ever a women's steel cage match where escaping does not win you the match. I thought that was interesting.
Which makes more sense to me because, like, it's so easy to, like, I know we milk it and we're like, but like climb that fucking thing, right? Like,
I understood it from the heel's perspective of like, hey, I got to get out of here. I got to climb out, right?
Right.
But in this feud where it's, hey, me and you are going to fucking fight each other. We just got to make sure, for Thunder Rosa's sake, that no one else is getting involved. That it's pinfall or submission.
I almost would go so with that route, right? Like I just wouldn't ever do the steel cage. I think for me it would just be like a Hell in a Cell type cage always, right? We're gonna lock you in here, and escaping is a fucking disqualification, right? You're gonna do it in here, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now if somebody makes it in there to help, well, we didn't write the rules for that, right? Like that might be a different scenario.
But I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. So let's get to the match here. So first, before Thunder Rosa even comes out, she gets an all-female mariachi band. I think that, right? Is that the correct term here?
I think so.
Mariachi? I don't know.
Where as far as is it not mariachi if it's female? Yeah, I don't know.
Right, so I don't know. Hey,
so we are the Spanish announce table, but that's in reference to the Spanish announce table in wrestling folklore. Like we are not.
We don't know that shit.
So if you are, please let us know because we don't want to misspeak.
Right, but we don't fact check either.
Yeah. We didn't get time
so
for
Thunder
that.
Rosa comes out.
Hey yo. All right.
And she's looking like $1 million, right? Hometown. Like I said, the crowd is going wild for her.
Everybody loves Thunder Rosa.
Full makeup, mariachi band, all the stuff. What'd you think about just that presentation before we even got to Brit Baker?
I think it was a great culmination of, like, we've talked about this. Thunder Rosa has been creeping up with this, like, kind of groundswell support of people that are like fucking like Thunder Rosa. And I agree with that. We've been saying like, hey, there's something special here. And I like that. Like it's built to this here.
Mm-hmm. now we get Britt Baker walking out. She does her, pays her respects to Scott Hall coming out in the NWO black and white gear. I think she also wore her red and black Scott Hall jacket as well. They obviously have a history. There was pictures and a post shared by Britt Baker. So she comes out, and what I thought was interesting about this match was that Britt Baker wasn't the chicken shit heel here. She went at Thunder Rosa just like Thunder Rosa went at Britt Baker. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very interesting because, again, you could have easily done the Rebel or Reba, whatever she calls her. I can't remember. Get out here and all that stuff. The only time she yelled for anyone was when she said to the ref, "Get the fuck in here." I thought that was awesome. She said the F word, loved it.
Yeah, no, but this felt like a fight. Like this felt like we're here to fucking kill each other.
Yeah, this felt more like a control your narrative than those fucking dorks playing with their nipples. You know what I mean? Like this felt like a goddamn fight.
Is that what they do on that show? I might watch that.
Probably. I don't know. What the fuck? They're just drinking creatine and fucking massaging their biceps.
Reading 4chan.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this was good. Now I will say, and it's a hard bar to top, but this wasn't as good as last year's St. Patrick's Day smash or whatever the fuck you call it, Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match. But man, if they didn't try, right? This was thumbtacks, Britt Baker falling on that tower of chairs right on her spine. Ah, yikes! I mean, this was incredible. What did you think, though?
Same thing, right? Like they went at it. They had their brutal spots. I thought it was great. Like you couldn't ask for a better performance, I think, for a title match on live TV. You know what I mean? In this kind of like hardcore-ish environment. And I thought they performed really well. I thought they hit the story well. I thought they did a great job.
The only thing that I felt like could have been improved a little bit more, the finish felt a little bit like, fuck, we only got 40 seconds. Hey, fucking get here. Come here. And like, I felt a little rushed.
Yeah. I think that is the shit part of being the main event, right? Like, we could have mapped all this out, but if anybody went long, well, fuck. Now you also have to be good enough to like, how do we condense this? Or like, oh shit, we're running long. Like now what do we do?
Well, and here's the thing that I would like to, and maybe I'm going off on a side quest here, but this is where I'd like to challenge the Young Bucks. You keep telling me you're the greatest fucking tag team in the world and da-da-da-da-da. You can't just say it and it's true, right? Like, I'm not saying that they don't have good matches, but I can't fucking recall a Young Bucks main event match, tag team match, where they have to go to the top of the hour, right? They have to get out at this time. Because the book on the Young Bucks, at least in my opinion, is, well, they can have a great 42-minute match, but ain't no one fucking booking 42-minute matches on cable television.
Right.
So I just want to see them fucking do that kind of shit. Now I know they've done some things where like they turned on Moxley and joined Kenny Omega and done that, but that was storyline. I'm saying like a classic match. Get that classic match in this kind of time frame. I haven't seen it yet, but credit to these women. That was, again, side quest, because I'm still not sold on fucking Young Bucks. You can't just say I'm the best. And that's the other thing too. The commentary team. Hey, fucking tighten it up. You can't fucking keep telling me that the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world and they're not the champions. Yeah. You know who the fucking best tag team in the world is in AEW's world? Lucha Express or Jurassic Express.
Jurassic Express.
Yeah.
I didn't keep
Jurassic
Express.
Express.
Luchasaurus. Fuck those before.
Yeah, Luchasaurus. Yeah. Because Jurassic Express is your fucking tag team. So stop with the bullshit of the Young Bucks are the best. Look, I can't say I'm 6'2" every fucking time because it's not true. Like,
you know what I will harken back to, and this is on commentators as well, right? Watching back some of these Scott Hall things. For as shitty as Vince McMahon was at it, they had very clearly, this person's cheering for the bad guy, this person's cheering for the good guy, and there's no agreement whatsoever, right? Like there is like, no, this guy, fucking, yeah, kick him in the dick, right? Like that's great. Like that's the smart thing to do. You're an idiot if you're fucking trying to do the right? Like they almost were ready to fucking slap each other at the booth.
Mm-hmm. Well, Yeah, to speak about the AEW commentary just for a quick second before we get back into
A
some
lot of circle jerking
tables.
going on up there.
Well, it's all the same person.
Yeah.
JR is Tony Schiavone, is Excalibur, who is JR. They're all telling you the same fucking thing. Now, Tony Schiavone might turn it up a little bit where he's like, I hate that MJF, but JR is also saying it. Now, he's not going to the degree that Tony is, and Excalibur is saying the same fucking thing that JR is saying.
Yeah, nobody's telling the bad guy side of the story, though, usually.
To the point where, if you look at Rampage, they do it a little bit better because you do get Taz and Chris Jericho saying like, haha, that's great, Ricky Starks. I'd kick him in the dick too. Or you might even get Eddie
Kingston once in a while on Rampage on like Dark or something where he's like, fuck this guy, you know? Like
yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Poke him in the eye. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, you need some heel in the booth, honestly.
And they do on Rampage. I think we just need to take that to Dynamite. I think as great as the three of them are, one of them needs to be something. I'll fucking talk shit.
Commentary it up.
Oh yeah, just let you lead the dance, but I can just come in and chirp.
I'll cheer for Don fucking Callis and.
Oh, I'll cheer for all those fucking scumbags.
Dan Lambert.
I'll tell you I'll tell you that the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world. Doesn't make it fucking right, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's the one thing too. Yes, they're all saying the same thing, so it makes it a little bit difficult to be like the only thing I feel like that they separate on is that JR is like, well, God damn it, why would there be thumbtacks under the ring? You know? I don't know, JR, all right? But hey, let's transition here because one thing I wanted to talk about, I want to do one quick rant about WWE because we typically do that, or at least I do. But we got a hashtag tweet the table from Katie the First Lady. So at Katie the First Lady, she says, "Welp, the go home show maybe." Question mark, hashtag WWE Raw, hashtag tweet the table. And it's a GIF or GIF or whatever the fuck we're saying of Cody with his hand to the ear saying like, oh, did you call my name? And I'll let you go in just a second, but I want to say this one thing. This is the shit that's ruined my favorite thing in the world. The only fucking reason we think Cody's showing up is because Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer and Wrestling Torch and all these fucking people are telling you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any inkling.
If you're just watching the fucking show, Cody isn't even on your radar. You know why?
I told you earlier, some people may understand like, well, Cody Rhodes isn't working there anymore. Like if we knew like his contract was up, but like, I mean, they're talking like, I think they're going too far when they're like, and now he's going to sign with WWE. And we're like, are we sure about that? Like, we don't know.
It's like, yeah, because they've been saying like, this is the last week that Cody could appear or else he can't make WrestleMania. Shut the fuck up. The Hardys showed up the night before after beating the Young Bucks in Ring of Honor.
I'm more concerned with the idea of like, kind of what Devil Vamp was saying. Like, Cody Rhodes shows up at WrestleMania. I don't know it's going to get the hugest crowd pop that they think it's going to get. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but I think my point is this. I told you earlier before we started recording, I just finished season 2 of The Wire, right? In season 1, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil something, but if you haven't seen it, yeah, I'm watching all the hip new shows, right? But came
watch
out
Sex
10
and
years
the City
ago.
next? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I got Frasier on tap. I tell you what. But there's a scene in season 1, and again, spoiler if you haven't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, you don't even know what I'm fucking saying, where
everybody else has seen it but you, apparently.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
But where one of the characters yells to the other, "Where's Wallace? Where's Wallace?" Because Wallace got shot and killed, right? And that was shocking. You know what would have fucking ruined it? If someone said, leak script of episode 8, Wallace gets shot. It should happen this week on the episode. And then I'm watching and it's like, actually, it's going to be on episode 9, not 8. I'm the only one who gets fucked because I'm not paying attention to only the things on my television.
So now let's remove all that, right? So let's say you're somebody who doesn't listen to this podcast, which that would make you an idiot, but you're somebody who just watches the television shows, right?
Right, just watch it.
Follow any online news. You don't get on social media. You just watch it. Cody Rhodes showing back up. I think you might be like, WrestleMania hits. Cody Rhodes walk out and you're like, Stardust Kid? Like, There's no tie to anybody that he has a beef with. There's no.
Well, that's where the story can come in, right? If Vince McMahon comes out and says I created all this.
Beef was with Triple H, but we're not going to see that, right? I don't.
Well, I mean, someone could fight on behalf of Triple H, right? Triple H could say I created NXT. Everyone says Dusty. Well, I think it's again because I see it on Twitter because everything that's similar likes, right? It seems like it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Cody, right? So you could easily just say Triple H comes out, talks down on Dusty Rhodes. Hey, my protege, Seth Rollins will beat up you and all that, But I guess it's just if you're watching television and your whole enjoyment is, I know because someone told me that this is when the surprise is going to happen. You're watching it for the dumbest fucking reasons. And this isn't and I'm not trying to go at Katie.
Entertainment would sustain me long term to be because then you're just watching to watch the crowd and be I knew that already. But that can't carry you week over week, right?
Well, and it's just dumb to even who cares?
Right, yeah.
Right? I'm not going to watch.
You didn't scoop that information. Somebody just told it to you. You just read it. Well, right?
and even so, even if you did scoop, it just doesn't make I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl with you on Monday and just I don't know. I think maybe the Rams will win, and just keep looking at you. And then when I'm I guess the Rams did win. It's who fucking cares?
Right.
You're missing the fucking game, right? You're missing the stories.
To that point, I do watch some live sports, right? I'm a Kansas State fan, which, we're Chiefs fans, which, is mostly until, the last recent fucking thing.
Super Bowl. We got a Super Bowl.
We had one Super Bowl. So there are times where I'm shit, I can't catch the game live. This day and age, we got the cloud DVRs on the YouTube TV. I'm going to watch it later. Yeah. I do everything in my fucking power to avoid any spoilers. I text my family in advance. I'm nobody fucking text me about the game.
Right.
I'm turning off notifications on my phone or just turning it off. We are trying to avoid finding out what happened because then even as much as we love the Chiefs, if I knew Chiefs beat Raiders 41-13, I'm not going to probably watch that game back other than for a certain thing. You know what I mean? It's just not going to, I'm not going to watch it with the same fervor and emotion. Right. And the same will apply to pro wrestling, right? If I know WrestleMania, I'm all right, let me watch WrestleMania. If I know Seth Rollins is going to get fucked by Cody Rhodes, every time Seth Rollins comes out, I'm just all right, well, this is where it happens, right? And it's not interesting
the
anymore.
John
it's
Cena,
not a shock.
right? Yeah, the John Cena comes out to wrestle Roman Reigns, and that leads to SummerSlam. Well, if you told it to me, and then he comes out, I'm well, I guess this is when he challenges him for SummerSlam. That's fun. And again, this was not a slight on Katie.
Oh, of course
Katie
not.
is amazing.
No.
It's more just a bigger.
We used to read Katie's emails, and they always started off with "Hey yo."
That is true.
Right.
Oh, but look at that. Full
hey yo.
But it's just, and I know I've harped about this plenty of times, and there's probably people who are rolling their eyes God damn it, I like it, so get over it. But I'm just telling you, get over it.
Get over it.
Well, just watch. I just don't get it. What, we talk about why are you watching WWE? And we still haven't heard yet, but
and nobody's told us much. I mean, I think somebody tried to answer.
But I think we're also changing, there's a perspective that is changing, right, on WWE from the hardcore fans, which we are, right? But someone has to tell me why you subscribe to whatever it is, the Fightful newsletter, whatever the fuck they're called. What are you getting out of that? Is it what you said, Tim, where it's haha, I knew? Who the fuck cares?
Look, I get staying in tune. We run a podcast, right? And we try to live stream and we try to interact with viewers. So, we keep our eyes tuned to it so that we can speak to things, right?
But I want to speak to the TV, what's on the TV.
Yeah, but if I wasn't doing that, I certainly wouldn't look at those things with even the little bit that I do. And two, I don't think a lot of you are doing that, right? Are you just doing this to go on your online form, and pass it off as your own understanding of what's going on, or just I don't get that either.
I just don't know why those people. Why do you want to ruin surprises too? Yeah. Now again, there is interesting aspects that aren't on the television, right? Oh my God, this was a record-setting year for AEW as far as revenue.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I mean, somebody's got to report on the injuries, and somebody's got to report on, like, if a strained relationship happens and somebody leaves, like, we'd like to know what happened there, right? Like that kind of stuff.
But that would be even if, like, hey, you casted Matt Damon for the lead of the next Batman movie. I'm just making it up. But then 6 months into production, he leaves. Well, what happened there? There's an interest because of that. But there's a difference if, hey, Matt Damon's going to be the next Batman, and guess what? He kills Joker. That's going to be fucking what happens in the next movie. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm not going to go see that now.
Yeah, right.
It's bullshit,
right?
right?
I'm not
like
paying fucking, $30 to go see that.
And why would you fucking ruin that? Why? We got, you know what? That's maybe this is another side quest here. Let's try to fucking talk to one of those dorks. I would love to have fill in the blank insider and just be like, what is the fucking purpose of what you're doing by ruining stories? Why? That's all I want to fucking know. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Makes me so aggravated. Anyhow.
But what doesn't make you aggravated was AEW Dynamite. That was
it was so good. It was so good. I will say this, though, as we recap AEW Dynamite. It was in Thunder Rosa's hometown. She overcomes the villain, Brit Baker, to become the champion, and that is a Cinderella story, and it's refreshing in the sense that in the other promotion, WWE, you always lose in your hometown, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm ready for some swerves in AEW. I'm not saying be WWE, but I'm ready. Like, it was so...
Yeah, I think like the Max, the MJF, like
that's what I'm saying.
The Pinnacle was like the last swerve I felt like we had.
Right, where I was like, holy shit. And I'm not saying...
Yeah, they try to do it with the Hardy family office, right? Isn't that what they did? They tried to, but that's a low level thing.
Yeah, I'm talking about like wow. You're telling me Powerhouse Hobbs is now the leader of a new
Luchasaurus
faction?
kicked Jungle Boy in the dick?
Right, yeah. Marco Stunt's back and he cost Jurassic Express the tag team championships. What the fuck happened there? Yeah, I want a little bit more surprises. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more surprises. Yeah. Like real surprises, not Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah, not Jeff Hardy dancing while his brother's getting beat up.
Priorities,
but
man.
I will to Jeff Hardy's credit. When your brother's getting his ass beat, you're gonna go save him, but you're also like, fuck, he can handle it. Fuck him. He got himself into it.
Right, but you're also gonna be like, who the fuck is here? Like, this guy.
Look, I'm here to save my brother. We all know he's a dick and deserves this, but like I'm gonna that's not unbrotherly like. I will give him that.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
He's like, I saved you, but I also had time to flex on it. Because I'm better than you. Fine, With that, I mean, we'll take a break for another week. We'll recharge our batteries, and you can, download this show and listen to it and tell all your friends and do all the social media stuff for us. We're on Twitters, the Facebooks, the TikToks, all of that jazz. And I mean, I guess we'll end it with just a final rest in peace, Scott Hall.
The Spanish announce table.